the way we've learnt to work with different partners, as was mentioned earlier, being much closer to other agencies that provide a service to the public as well, sometimes working out of the same buildings, sometimes sharing our problems so that a member of the public only has to come to us once with a problem rather than 5 or 6 times to different agencies. Does give us an outlook for the future that we think can help us overcome many of the challenges of reducing budgets and so on. And as a member of the public myself, I fully expect agencies that are paid for by your taxes to join together and provide a good service and make sure that there aren't gaps in between. You know, that's what I look at when I read my local paper in the morning as well. So when I come into work, I very much feel that responsibility to make sure that the police are good partners in that, as do my colleagues. Secondly, on the 1st of April, the force reached 40 years of age, and some of you may have seen some of the publicity that we've been putting out in the last week or so about celebrating our 40th birthday as Avon Somerset Constabulary. And on the 15th of June, there's an event up at our HQ, and there's various events around the force that will celebrate that birthday. But in that time, you know, we've gone from being an organisation that dealt with everything on a piece of paper with a pencil. There weren't mobile phones, there were pay phones with the sound of pips, you know, that sound that no one sort of recognises anymore because we don't use pay phones and that sort of technology anymore, do we? But many of us in the room will remember that. And some fairly antiquated equipment, or so it looks now. But policing at 40 in the constabulary lends us technology and new developments, which I and my colleagues, and I know the Police and Crime Commissioner too, are really excited about in terms of helping policing to stay ahead of the criminal, helping us to be more in contact with you, helping us to be in contact with you when we're out on the ground, patrolling in our cars, having mobile technology and so on. And I fully expect that by our 50th birthday, that the whole story of that will have changed again, and that we'll be using the technologies that we commonly see in public life. And if we go back to things like DNA and forensics and so on, you know, there are all sorts of fantastic results are being achieved through the use of those technologies, and they will get better. And if we use those tools to get better at policing, but absolutely keep our commitment to neighbourhood policing so that you have local officers who you see and can speak to on the streets in your communities, but also know that if you phone us, there will be an officer or member of staff ready to respond to your need or crisis or emergency. Actually, I think the story for policing in the next 10 years will be a good one, even in the face of reducing budgets. And compared to other forces around the country, we know that our own inspector at the HMIC tell us that the force does things a little bit more cheaply and a bit more effectively than other forces around the country. And using those skills, I expect us to have a good future in keeping communities safe and feeling safe in Avon Somerset. But at the heart of all of that, even with what I said around partnership, the consequences for buildings, the technology, the vehicles, at the heart of all of that is remembering that policing is all about people, and how we need to keep in touch with communities, understand their concerns. I have colleagues in the room who are beat managers and PCSOs and so on, whose whole existence is about understanding your concerns. And I'll be the first to admit from time to time we don't get everything right, but we're trying our hardest to make sure we get it as right as possible. And I'm very optimistic around providing an even better service in policing terms, notwithstanding that, you know, budgets and other things look difficult to people. And I'll be very interested to hear what you have to say about your local policing this evening. One of my colleagues here, Superintendent Jeff Wessel, who's in charge of policing locally and the operational side of policing in this part of Somerset, will give us a bit more of an illustration. But Sue, I don't know if there's anything you wanted to return to before I hand them.
All the difficult questions now will go to Jeff anyway. So Jeff, if you'd like to.
Nothing like being set up. Thanks, Sue. Hi, good evening. I'm Jeff Wessel, Superintendent for all of the Somerset area. Always good to start a presentation with an apology. It's an apology from Nikki Watson, who is the Area Commander, Chief Superintendent Nikki Watson. Can't be here tonight. She's on annual leave. She is allowed a holiday occasionally, so it's myself. What I'm going to try to do is take you through a bit of a snapshot of policing in the Somerset area as it is at the moment, one or two issues in terms of our performance, and obviously then lead into any questions. Hopefully my slides will keep up with me talking. On to the next slide, please. Okay, unfortunately you might not be able to see this very well with the lights. Can we just take the lights down just for this map? Off she goes. They don't always respond that quickly. There you go. Yeah, it's a bit hazy, unfortunately. Those of you with some imagination will identify that this is a map of all of Avon and Somerset, split up by our policing areas. You're likely tonight to hear quite a lot regarding our change of our operating model and the changes that are occurring throughout the force area. What effectively we have is a local policing areas which are aligned to our local authority boundaries. The area that Chard resides in, most of you will probably know this, is the Somerset East local policing area that's made up of Mendip and South Somerset. As Sue and John have already said, going forward, local neighbourhood policing will continue to be very much at the heart of everything that we do. So whilst you're going to hear about changes within the operating model, it is absolutely, from the heart, it is so important to keep the local focus, which is what we'll continue to do. Some of you in the room will have heard of a number of new police stations that are being built around the force area. In particular, one for the Somerset area, which is called Express Park currently, which is in Bridgewater. This is a purpose-built, brand new police station that will provide state-of-the-art custody, patrol, some neighbourhood teams, and some of our specialist functions, for example, some of our investigative resources, commonly referred to as CID. They will consolidate and centralise a number of these resources, but again, I'll come back to that the local delivery will remain the same. It's not a withdrawal of local policing services. There is a phased implementation of Express Park coming online. As I expect you can appreciate, with any major build like this, there can be one or two teething problems. But totally, when it's totally up and running, there'll be around 550 officers working out of Express Park. But again, the neighbourhood function still remains very much local. I'm whizzing through it on purpose because I'm sure you've got some questions. So it's always difficult when you try to come up with some local performance figures to take some snapshots. But if you look at our key priority, reducing crime, what we're all about, in the South Somerset area as a whole, crime has reduced 34% over the last 5 years. Now that's a figure. What I'm more interested in is the fact that that's over 2,400 fewer victims compared to this time 5 years ago. We are also bringing more offenders to justice, with 33% of all crime now being solved.